She couldn't walk, but she taught him how to run. Those 8 words lit up Bend, Oregon like magnesium flare dropped in dry pine needles. High school kids carved them into lockers with house keys. Old-timers muttered them over burnt coffee a thump espresso. And within 48 hours, the shaky phone video of the regional championship finale had 3 million views. Strangers ugly crying in Costco aisles because Maya Ellison used to be the 14-year-old who outskied every boy on Mount Bachelor, ponytail snapping like a victory pennant, until one February morning, the mountain decided to keep her legs and give her a wheelchair instead. Her father, Richard Ellison, CEO of Ellison Dynamics, the man who coded self-driving cities before breakfast and closed 9-figure deals before lunch, reacted the only way he knew how. He wrote checks. Checks for Swiss nerve regeneration trials that cost more than a house. Checks for a custom racing chair forged from aerospace carbon and lighter than a prom dress. Checks that single-handedly resurrected Bend High's wheezing track program so her daughter could still taste speed, even if she couldn't feel her toes. But Richard never came to practice. Never saw the way Maya's eyes ignited when the starter's pistol cracked. Never heard the team chant, "Captain Maya," in the locker room, even though she couldn't stand for the pledge. Nate Brooks noticed the empty parental bleachers every single Friday. He noticed everything. 38, single dad, ex-Marine with a voice like a gravel road soaked in bourbon. He'd taken the coaching gig after his wife vanished with a yoga instructor and left him a sticky note that said, "I need to find myself," and a 6-year-old who thought granola bars counted as dessert. His son Eli now stood on the cinders every afternoon waving a poster board sign that read, "Maya equals speed," in lopsided red marker. Nate pushed Maya's chair through brutal interval sessions, counting cadence the way he once counted insurgents. 1, 2, 1, 2, breathe through the burn, kid. Maya laughed so hard her oxygen dipped, the sound bright enough to shame the Cascade sunset. She started timing freshmen, correcting form with the precision of a sniper. "Johnson, your elbows are wet noodles. Lock 'em or I'll make you run backward." The team adored her for it. Adored the way she memorized splits to the 100th, the way she high-fived with knuckles scarred from IV ports and chemo-light cocktails. They forgot she was paralyzed from the waist down. Nate never forgot. Richard's absence grew fangs. Maya quit mentioning him after the 4th missed invitational. Instead, she grilled Nate about Eli's volcano science project, about the puckered shrapnel scar on his left knuckle from Fallujah, about whether real love could outrun terror. Nate answered in clipped sentences, the way men do when language feels like quicksand. But every Thursday he lingered after dark, oiling her chair bearings under the Sodium Stadium lights, while Eli sprawled homework across the bleachers. "You ever think about racing with her, coach?" Eli asked once, mouth ringed with chocolate milk. Nate snorted. "She's the thoroughbred, bud. I'm just the pushcart." Maya overheard from the shadows and flashed dimples deep enough to drown in. "Pushcarts need maintenance, old man. Don't you dare quit on me." The regional championships rolled in with sideways May rain and a wind that tasted like pine resin and second chances. Richard fired off a text from 35,000 feet. "Board vote in Seoul. Proud of you. Break the tape." Maya deleted it without a blink. She wore school colors like chainmail. Bib number 22 safety pinned to her chair's backrest. Nate knelt in the mud to triple-check tire pressure. Ready to make the mountain jealous? She tapped her helmet. "Born ready, Sarge." The gun popped. Maya rocketed. Wheels blurred into silver streaks. Braids streaming horizontal. Crowd detonating. She carved the first turn textbook, leaning so hard that the chair's inside wheel kissed the lane line. Halfway through the 800-meter, the left axle emitted a metallic death rattle, then folded like aluminum foil. The chair pitched. Maya flew forward, palm shredding on wet cinders, world tilting. Time stuttered. Nate was already airborne. He didn't calculate, didn't hesitate. Clipboard abandoned, he vaulted the rail, boots hammering red rubber like mortar rounds. The stadium inhaled. Maya's eyes locked on his, panic flashing, then hardening into something unbreakable. Nate slid baseball style, scooped her up fireman carry, her legs limp but her arms cinching his neck like she'd rehearsed this in dreams. "I got you," he growled. "Run with me, Captain." She buried her face in his shoulder and nodded. He ran. Not the tidy coach jog, but the desperate, all-out lunge of a man carrying his entire reason for breathing. Maya weighed 92 pounds soaking wet. Her trust weighed 1,000. The crowd went church quiet. Eli's sign fluttered to the track like a surrender flag.
Lap 1, Nate's lungs seized. Maya whispered splits against his ear. 28, 29, push, damn it, push, like she was still steering. Lap 2, quads on fire. A sophomore on the infield started a slow clap, then the relay squad, then the bleachers, strangers rising in waves. Richard Allison stood in the top row, charcoal suit wrinkled from a last-second charter out of Narita, face collapsing as her daughter laughed, actually laughed mid-sprint while being carried at 20 miles an hour. The sound hit him like an IED. He gripped the rail until splinters bit. Final turn, vision tunneling. Nate tasted copper. Maya's dreams, Eli's gap-toothed pride, the echo of his wife's goodbye, everything fueled the last 100. They crossed together. Official time, 2:11.4. Personal best by 28 seconds. The stadium erupted like the 4th of July. Nate staggered, lowered Maya gently to the cinders. She sat there scraped and bleeding and radiant. Medals draped. Gold to a senior from Redmond. Maya didn't care. When they called her name for the Sportsmanship Award, she rolled forward. Someone had duct-taped the broken chair into a Frankenstein miracle and accepted the bronze disc with trembling fingers. Then she pivoted, wheeled straight to Nate and hung it around his neck. "You finish my race," she said, voice cracking like lake ice in March. "This one's yours, coach." Richard shoved through the swarm. No speech prepared, no quarterly projections, just salt water cutting channels through 48 hours of stubble. He knelt, actually knelt, in his $5,000 suit on the filthy track. Maya, one word, shattered. She studied him the way kids do when deciding if the monster under the bed is changed. Nate stepped back, palm on Eli's shoulder. Father and daughter stared at a chasm 6 months wide. Maya broke first. "You came." Richard's reply splintered. "I'm late, I know, but I'm here now." She extended a scraped hand. He took it like it might evaporate. That night the team invaded Dairy Queen. Maya perched on Nate's shoulders, waving her broken wheel like a pirate flag. Richard paid for every blizzard within 10-mile radius. Eli passed out with fudge on his cheek. Nate watched Maya teach her father how to fold a paper boat from a napkin, their heads bent under fluorescent hum. Something unclenched in his chest, a fist he hadn't realized was squeezing. 3 weeks later, the video hit 10 million. Morning shows begged. Maya refused solo. Coach or nothing. They flew to New York, her new chair gleaming, Nate's medal on a chain around her neck. The host asked what the race taught her. Maya glanced at Nate, then the camera. Finishing isn't about legs. It's about who refuses to drop you when yours quit and who you refuse to drop when theirs do. The host dabbed mascara. Nate just nodded, words too small. Richard liquidated his downtown penthouse, bought a ranch house with curb cuts and doorways wide enough for wheelies. Friday nights he stood sidelines with Eli, learning splits, hollering until his throat shredded. Nate coached them both, father relearning presence, daughter relearning trust in a standing frame that let her take 3 Frankenstein steps. The team painted a mural on the equipment shed, Maya mid-laugh on Nate's back, the words, "She couldn't walk, but she taught him how to run," in screaming crimson. Summer melted into fall. Maya's braces upgraded from clunky to carbon. She captained the team's senior year, barking orders from a chair now sporting sponsor decals and flames that matched Bend High's mascot. Richard mastered the grill, hosted barbecues where venture capitalists flipped burgers beside the janitor, laughter louder than any earnings call. Eli passed up 6 inches, scholarship envelopes piling up, but he still came home every break to push Maya's old training chair around the oval for nostalgia. Nate's hair salted, knees protested cold mornings, but he never missed 5:30 a.m. practice. The medal lived in his office, dented from too many parent-teacher conferences where he fought for invisible kids. One October dawn, a Paralympic scout appeared, stopwatch gleaming. Maya smoked the 400 exhibition in a time that rewrote Oregon record books. Offers flooded. Colorado altitude camps, Nike contracts, Tokyo 2028. Maya shut him down. "I'm not abandoning my team." She turned to Nate with the canyon grin. "Coach still needs a captain." Nate pretended to grumble, but his eyes betrayed him. Winter brought the 10-year reunion. The oval packed, lights blazing. Alumni from 3 decades mingled with current freshmen. Maya, 24 now, walked the perimeter in sleek braces that clicked like metronomes. Richard on one arm, Nate on the other, Eli live streaming for his college teammates. They unveiled a bronze plaque at the finish line. Ellison Brooks Oval, where finishing is a team sport. Maya cut the ribbon with the same scissors she'd used to trim Eli's kindergarten bangs. Richard gave a speech, no notes, voice cracking on every thank you. Nate stood silent. metal around Maya's neck where it belonged. Fireworks exploded above the cascades. Kids oohed. Maya leaned into Nate. "Think we taught him anything, Coach?" He scanned the sea of faces, some in chairs, some on crutches, all wearing the same crimson words. "Kid, we taught him everything." Oh, and if this cracked your rib cage open and let the light in, smash that subscribe button right now. 10 years after the carry, on a November dawn so cold the breath hangs like ghosts above the Ellison Brooks Oval. Maya Ellison is 24, braces humming with micro-servos that cost more than Nate's first truck, but she still insists on meeting Coach at 5:15 sharp because old habits die harder than mountains. Nate is 48 now, knees creaking like the old wooden bleachers, hair more salt than pepper, but his whistle still cuts the frost like a blade. Eli is home from Stanford on Thanksgiving break, taller than his dad, scholarship legs long and restless, filming everything for the documentary class that keeps texting him edits. Richard arrives last, Tesla silent on the cinders, carrying 2 thermoses of coffee strong enough to wake the dead and a box of thumped espresso donuts, because some rituals are sacred. Maya rolls up the ramp Nate built himself last summer, carbon wheels whispering over fresh paint that reads "Captain Forever" in crimson script. She parks beside the starting blocks, kills the chair's power, and locks eyes with Nate. "Today's the day, Coach." He squints, pretending not to understand, but his heart is already sprinting. Today is the day they test the standing protocol Dr. Chen flew in from Zurich to oversee. 6 months of neural bridging, stem cell grafts, and enough electrical stimulation to light Portland. Today Maya tries to walk the 400 unassisted. No braces, no chair, no Nate piggyback, just her and the red rubber that once carried her dreams on broken wheels. Richard sets the donuts down like an offering, hands trembling worse than the day he signed his first IPO. Eli props the phone on a tripod, red record light blinking. Nate blows the whistle once, soft. The signal they agreed means no pressure, no crowd, just family. Maya grips the blocks, palms slick despite the chill. Her legs, once strangers below the waist, now twitch with phantom signals, muscles remembering what nerves forgot. "On your mark," Nate says, voice gravel and grace. She plants bare feet, toes curling against the cold track. "Get set." She rises, slowly, wobbling, knees knocking like freshman drum majors. Richard's breath catches so loud the microphone picks it up. Eli zooms in on Maya's face, fierce concentration, dimples carved deep. "Go." She takes 1 step, then another. The third buckles. Nate lunges instinctively, but Maya throws up a hand. "Stop!" She resets, breathes through her nose the way he taught her at 14. 4th step, stronger. 5th. By the first turn, she's walking. Not pretty, not fast, but walking, arms out for balance like a tightrope kid. The oval is silent, except for the crunch of frost under her soles and Richard's muffled sob. Halfway down the backstretch, her left quad seizes. She stumbles, windmills, rights herself with a grunt that echoes off the empty bleachers. Nate's eyes burn. Eli whispers, "Holy shit," and forgets to censor for the documentary. Final turn. Maya's face is fire and sunrise. She's crying but smiling so wide the cold doesn't stand a chance. Last 100 meters she finds rhythm, hips swaying, knees remembering the ski slopes that stole them. She crosses the line upright, arms raised like she just medaled in the actual Olympics. Time 4:38, slow as Christmas, fast as resurrection. She collapses into Nate's arms, legs jelly, heart rocket fuel. "I walked the damn oval, Coach!" He can't speak, just crushes her close, metal from 10 years ago pressing between them like a shared heartbeat. Richard is on his knees 10 feet away, donuts forgotten, tears freezing on his cheeks. Eli's camera shakes, he's crying too hard to hold steady. They celebrate with donuts on the infield, Maya sitting on the lane line because her legs refuse to fold back into the chair just yet. Dr. Chen arrives, tablet glowing with EMG readouts that look like Christmas lights. "Synaptic bridging at 87%, she says, voice clinical but eyes wet. "We're not done, but we're winning." Maya high-fives her with a powdered sugar hand. Richard pulls out his phone, not to check stock prices, but to text the entire Bend High alumni group. "My daughter just walked 400 meters. Come see." Within minutes, cars flood the lot. Former teammates, parents, the janitor who used to sneak Maya extra ice packs. Someone starts chanting, "Captain Maya," and it spreads until the cascades throw it back in echo. Winter deepens. Maya walks the hallways of Bend High now, guest coaching freshmen who stare like she's mythology come alive. She still rolls when her legs protest, but the chair is backup, not prison. Richard closes the Seattle office permanently, works remote from the ranch house, learns to cook chili that doesn't taste like regret. Eli edits the footage into a short film that wins a student Emmy and gets Maya invited to speak at TEDx Portland. She writes the talk herself, titled "The Physics of Being Carried." Nate refuses to sit on stage with her until she threatens to dedicate the entire thing to his bad knee. He relents, wears the metal under his blazer like body armor. Spring brings the inaugural Ellison Brooks Invitational. Every adaptive athlete in the Pacific Northwest, plus a few from Japan who saw the viral walk on TikTok. Maya races the 400 in braces, wins by a wheel length, then hands her gold to a 12-year-old from Eugene who just got her first racing chair. "Pay it forward," she says. The kid cries so hard her mom has to carry her off the track. Nate watches from the timing table, pride so thick it hurts to swallow. Richard live stream for the company channel, narration cracking every 30 seconds. Eli commentates like a pro, voice steady until Maya crosses the line, then he loses it completely. Summer camp becomes legend. Maya and Nate run a 2-week intensive for kids with spinal injuries. Eli films, Richard funds, Dr. Chen consults. They teach gait training at dawn, wheelchair rugby at dusk, s'mores and stories under stars that feel close enough to touch. One night, a 10-year-old boy from Salem asks Nate if it hurts to carry someone who might never carry you back. Nate thinks of Maya at 14, 92 pounds of trust on his shoulders, and answers honest. "Hurts like hell, kid. Worth every blister." Maya overhears, wheels over, rests her head on Nate's knee like she did the night her chair broke. No words, just the quiet click of braces cooling in the firelight. Fall semester, Maya starts at Oregon State, majoring in biomedical engineering because someone has to make the next generation of legs that listen. She commutes with Richard, who now drives a minivan with hand controls, just in case. Nate visits every Thursday, brings Eli when he's home. They run the Racer Stadium stairs until security kicks them out. One Thursday, Maya meets them at the track with a prototype exoskeleton, sleeker than anything DARPA dreamed of. "Walk with me, coach." They strap in side by side, metal and carbon syncing to muscle twitches, and jog a slow mile while students film on phones. The clip trends worldwide, #Captain and Coach. Nike offers a signature line. Maya negotiates that the proceeds fund adaptive PE programs in every Oregon district. Richard cries again, signs the contract with a donut-stained pen. Thanksgiving Eve, 10 years and 1 day after the carry, the Oval hosts a midnight turkey trot. Maya walks the whole 5K, no braces, no chair, just sneakers and stubborn. Nate jogs backward in front of her, counting steps like intervals. Richard pushes Eli in the old training chair for laughs, both of them howling when Eli pretends to crash into the long jump pit. They finish under fireworks Richard definitely did not get a permit for. Maya collapses at the finish line, legs trembling but whole. Nate drapes the original medal around her neck. "Still yours, Captain." She kisses his cheek, salt and stubble. "Always was." Dawn breaks pink over the mountains. Maya stands unaided, watching the sun gild the mural that never fades. Richard snaps a photo, no filters. Eli posts it with the caption, "She couldn't walk, but she taught us all how to fly." Within minutes, the likes avalanche. Nate just smiles, whistle between his teeth, ready for the next practice, the next kid who needs carrying, the next impossible lap.
Ignites on a July morning so hot the air above the Ellison Brooks Oval shimmers like a mirage, the kind of Central Oregon heat that makes pine needles sweat and turns the red cinders into a skillet. Maya Ellison is 26 now, legs scarred with surgical lines and stronger than the titanium pins holding her L3 vertebrae together. But she still tapes her ankles like a freshman before every run because superstition is the only religion she kept after the accident. Nate is 50.
Knees replaced with Dota cartilage that creaks in sympathy with the old wooden bleachers, hair gone full winter, but his whistle still slices the dawn like a bayonet. Eli is 20, home from Stanford for the summer, film degree in one hand and a GoPro in the other, directing a senior thesis documentary titled Carry Me Home that already has Netflix sniffing. Richard arrives before sunrise, minivan loaded with ice chests and a banner that reads Maya's First 26.2, Bend or Bust, because today is the day Maya attempts the Cascade Lakes Marathon on her own 2 feet. No braces, no chair, no piggyback, just 26.2 miles of asphalt, regret, and redemption, baked under a merciless sun. The starting corral is chaos and love. Every adaptive athlete Maya ever coached lines up beside her. Kids in racing chairs, amputees on blades, blind runners tethered to guides, all wearing crimson singlets that read, "She taught us how to run." Nate stands at the front in his original coach's jacket, metal polished and pinned over his heart like a general's star. Richard paces the timing table, stopwatch in one hand, phone in the other, live streaming to 500,000 followers who woke up at 4 a.m. to watch. Eli's drone buzzes overhead, capturing the sea of faces, former teammates, parents who cried at the original video, strangers who flew in from Tokyo and Toronto because Maya's TED Talk convinced them miracles have zip codes. Dr. Chen is there in running shoes, neural monitor clipped to Maya's waistband like a high-tech fanny pack, ready to pull the plug if synapses fry. The gun cracks. They're off. Mile 1 is easy, legs remembering the oval, crowd chanting Captain Maya in waves that roll down the parkway. Maya settles into a conservative shuffle, arms pumping like pistons, dimples flashing every time a kid darts out for a high five. Nate jogs the shoulder in a golf cart borrowed from the country club, barking splicks through a bullhorn. 9:15, kid, bank the energy. Richard pedals a fat, tired bike beside her, water bottle extended like a relay baton. Eli weaves through on a skateboard, camera steady, narrating in a whisper. Mile 2, heart rate 140, smile still lethal. The course climbs gently toward the Cascades, pine trees giving way to lava rock and alpine meadows. Spectators thin, heat rises. Maya's world narrows to footfalls and breath. Mile 8, the first demon whispers, a twinge behind her left knee, phantom or real she can't tell. She grits her teeth, shortens stride. Nate notices, pulls the cart closer. Talk to me, Captain. She waves him off, but sweat beads faster than the sun can evaporate. Mile 10, mid-twinge becomes fire. Dr. Chen's monitor pings, synaptic fatigue spiking. Maya slows to a walk, hands on hips, staring at the endless ribbon of highway. Richard skids the bike, panic in his eyes. We can stop, sweetheart. Chair is in the van. Maya laughs, sharp and defiant. Dad, I didn't walk 400 meters to quit at 10 miles. She starts again, slower, each step a negotiation with gravity. The crowd that gathered at aid stations cheers harder, sensing the war. Mile 13 is the halfway wall, literal and metaphorical. The course crests a ridge overlooking Sparks Lake, water so blue it hurts. Maya's legs buckle. She drops to one knee, palms on asphalt hot enough to blister. Nate leaps from the cart, but Maya throws up a hand. Stop. Give me 30 seconds, coach. She breathes the way he taught her at 14, in through the nose, out through the mouth, counting heartbeats like intervals. Eli's drone hovers, silent witness. Richard is crying again, pedaling in useless circles. 30 seconds stretch to 60. Maya stands. Let's go. The crowd roars like she just crossed the finish. She doesn't hear them. She's inside the pain now, riding it like a wave. Mile 18, the second demon arrives, darker than muscle fatigue. A black SUV pulls alongside, window rolling down to reveal a face Nate prayed he'd never see again. Sergeant Major Reyes, his old commander from Fallujah, the man who sent his squad into the alley that left him with shrapnel in the knuckle and nightmares in the dark. Reyes leans out, voice like gravel. Brooks, heard you went soft coaching cripples. The word lands like a grenade. Maya hears it, stumbles. Nate's face goes marble. He stops the cart, steps onto the highway, fists clenched. Eli's camera swings. Richard freezes. Reyes smirks. Still carrying dead weight, I see. Maya finds her voice first. Sergeant Major, your legs work better than your manners. Keep driving. The SUV peels out, but the damage is done. Nate's eyes are 1,000 yards away, back in the dust and blood. Maya grabs his sleeve. Coach, look at me. He does, slowly. That alley doesn't get to finish this race. We do. She starts running again, pulling him with her eyes. Nate follows, bullhorn forgotten. Mile 20 is the crucible. Maya's quad seize completely. She collapses at the aid station, volunteers swarming with ice and electrolytes. Dr. Chen kneels, monitor screaming red. We're at 98% neural load, risk of permanent damage. Maya's answer is to stand up, lead shaking like aspen leaves. Then I'll crawl the last 6. Nate's voice cracks for the first time in 20 years. Maya, no! She locks eyes with him, the same fierce trust from the day her wheel broke. Carry me one more time, coach. Not on your back, in your heart. She starts walking. The volunteers part like the Red Sea. Richard abandons the bike, jogs beside her, sobbing openly. Eli films through tears, narration gone, just raw sound, footfalls, breath, the distant roar of the finish line crowd that somehow knows. Mile 23, the miracle happens. The highway descends toward Bend, sun dipping behind the 3 sisters, painting the sky the color of Maya's first racing chair. Her legs find a second wind, or maybe the first real one, muscles remembering ski slopes and piggyback sprints, and every dawn Nate pushed her when she wanted to quit. She runs, not pretty, not fast, but runs, arms windmilling, ponytail resurrected and whipping like the 14-year-old who outran the wind. Nate drives ahead, parks the cart, stands at mile marker 25 with arms open. Maya sees him and accelerates, crowd lining both sides now, phones up, strangers screaming her name. Richard is ahead at the finish, holding the tape himself because no official could handle the honor. Eli sprints backwards, camera shaking, yelling, "Come on, Captain!" The final 200 meters is pure electricity. Maya's legs burn, lungs scream, but her smile could power the grid. She crosses the line upright, arms raised, tape snapping across your chest. Official time, 6:58:11. Last place in the elite wave, first place in the history of impossible. She collapses into Nate, Richard, Eli, a tangle of limbs and medals and 12 years of tears. The crowd surges, lifting her onto shoulders, chanting until voices give out. Fireworks explode, illegal but perfect. Dr. Chen checks vitals, grinning through tears. Synapses at 100%, you just rewired the possible. Night falls. The Oval hosts the after-party. Food trucks, live music, adaptive dance floor packed. Maya sits on the infield grass, legs stretched out, medal around Nate's neck again because she insists the carry never ended. Richard gives a speech, no notes, voice raw. I spent a decade learning the cost of absence. Today, I learned the value of presence. This town, this family carried my daughter when I wouldn't. I'll spend the rest of my life carrying them back. He announces the Ellison Brooks Foundation. Full scholarships for every adaptive athlete in Oregon. Nate as executive director, Maya as chief innovation officer. The crowd loses it. Midnight, the Oval empties. Maya and Nate walk the track one last time, her arm through his, legs steady now. Eli films from a distance, drone silent. Richard waits at the finish line with 2 folding chairs and a bottle of champagne he definitely didn't chill properly. They sit under the scoreboard that reads 6:58:11 in eternal green. Maya raises a plastic cup. To the man who carried me when I couldn't and taught me to carry myself. Nate clinks, eyes wet. To the kid who taught me speed isn't legs, it's love with momentum. Richard chimes in, voice soft. To the family I almost missed. They drink. The stars wheel overhead. Same stars that watched a broken chair and a desperate sprint 12 years ago. Dawn the next morning, Nate finds a new mural on the equipment shed, painted overnight by persons unknown. Maya crossing the marathon finish, Nate, Richard, Eli mid-cheer behind her. The words, "She couldn't walk, but she taught us how to finish," in gold leaf that catches the sunrise. Underneath, smaller script, "And we're still running." Nate stands there until the bell rings for first period, whistle between his teeth, ready for the next kid who needs a lap, a carry, a second chance. Years later, when Maya's prosthetic lab revolutionizes lower limb biomechanics and Nate's foundation sends 1,000 kids to the Paralympics and Richard's chili finally wins the Bend Cook-Off and Eli's documentary takes Sundance, they still meet every Thanksgiving dawn on the Oval. Maya runs a slow mile, Nate jogs beside her, Richard times, Eli films, the mural never fades, the
Words never quiet. She couldn't walk, but she taught us how to run. And every year, on the anniversary of the marathon, the entire town lines the streets in mile 26, holding signs, ringing cowbells, carrying the runners who carry the dream. Because finishing is a team sport. And Bend, Oregon never drops the baton. The end. But hit subscribe anyway, because the epilogue lives in every kid who laces up at dawn, and the next story starts the second you believe impossible is just a warm-up lap.